My mind broke after one night alone in the forest. I'm whispering, not just for effect, but because I honestly don't want to make it angry. You see, I came out here to prove something to myself, to prove I wasn't scared of the dark, that my mental game was unshakable. But the dark, oh, the dark answered back, and it had some pretty intense things to say. Stick around to the very end, because what you're about to hear isn't just the rustling of leaves or the howl of coyotes. It's the sound of isolation, of primal fear, and of what happens when a brain that thought it was absolutely bulletproof suddenly finds itself under siege. It's a story about meeting the scariest version of yourself. I've always been the kind of person who pushes limits, you know? I've run ultramarathons until my legs screamed in protest. I've boxed in grimy smokers' clubs. And yeah, I once slept in an airport for 3 nights straight just because I could. So when my group chat started talking about getting back to nature, I, being me, bragged a little. I told them 12 solo hours deep in the woods would be a mental spa day, a cleanse practically. Of course, they dared me. They dared me to leave the tent behind, to ditch the fire steel, even to skip the emergency ramen. I just laughed, right? I said, watch me level up my grit, fellas. And with a swagger that now makes me cringe, I marched into the forest at sunset. All I had was a water bottle, a headlamp, and a GoPro battery sitting pretty at 94%. My confidence, I swear, felt like a full suit of armor. Untouchable. That is, until the sun finally dipped below the horizon and those ancient trees closed ranks around me, swallowing the last sliver of daylight.
That's when the armor started to feel a lot less like steel and a lot more like tissue paper. The trail had looked absolutely adorable at 6:30. Golden light shafting through the maples, painting everything in a kind of dreamy, impossible glow. Birds were chirping their last goodbyes, getting ready to close up shop for the night. I even filmed myself, striking a pose, saying something profoundly idiotic like, "See, nature's a puppy if you just don't show fear." Honestly, that clip is almost too embarrassing to ever include in this video, but it's crucial proof, isn't it? Proof of just how fast arrogance can rot when confronted with actual reality. It's proof of how quickly your perception can flip from idyllic to utterly terrifying. By 8:30, things had changed dramatically. The temperature had plummeted, dropping a good 9 degrees, and I found myself shivering uncontrollably. My first thought, my first mental defense was, nah, it's fine, just my body adapting, getting used to the wilderness vibe. I even tried to busy myself with small tasks, to maintain a sense of normalcy. Gathering pine needles, meticulously arranging them into some pathetic excuse for a mattress. But every single twig I snapped echoed through the sudden, eerie quiet like a gunshot. And then the forest would just go dead silent after each crack, as if every single creature out there was holding its breath, listening intently to me. That's when I first felt it. That subtle, unsettling tingle deep in my chest. It was fear, all right. And it was definitely looking for a door to let itself in. It wasn't a rush of panic yet, more like a quiet, insistent knocking. 9:15. Time to conserve. The headlamp went off. And let me tell you, the darkness out here, it's not the city blackout you might be used to, where a sliver of light still leaks in from somewhere. This is a living, breathing fabric that presses down on your pupils, demanding everything from your eyes and giving absolutely nothing back. I stared so intensely into that inky blackness that my brain, desperate for input, started rendering shapes that logic screamed weren't there. A gnarled branch became a pair of hunched shoulders. A mossy stump, when I blinked, suddenly grew antlers. I tried to narrate to the GoPro, sounding far more confident than I felt. This is what pilots call empty field myopia. Your eyes beg for details so hard they simply invent it. It sounded smart, sure, but it felt incredibly stupid, especially when something undeniably close, maybe 30 feet away, exhaled. And I mean a distinct, audible exhale. Not wind, never wind. My heart skipped a beat, then hammered against my ribs. 10:02. My teeth were chattering, not just from the cold, but from a new kind of dread.
I decided to walk the ridge, thinking movement would keep me warm. Big mistake. Without any discernible landmarks, every cedar became an identical twin, every shadow a deception. The trail, which had seemed so clear earlier, now looped on itself like some cruel, practical joke played by the wilderness. 5 minutes of walking became 20, which quickly became, I have no clue how long I've been walking. And of course, GPS doesn't work in these deep hollows. Too many iron veins in the earth, too much interference. My heart rate, I could feel it, hit 140, not from the exertion of hiking, but from the terrifying arithmetic unfolding in my mind. If I can't retrace my steps, sunrise is still 8 agonizing hours away, and I'm wearing jeans that are soaked through to the knee. A bit down hard on the rising panic, a metallic taste filling my mouth, and grabbed onto the only survival trick I remembered from all my armchair research: focus on a micro-task. So I counted breaths, 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, until the frantic sound of my own pulse thrumming in my ears completely drowned out the sinister forest audio. That's when I truly learned fear has a flavor, sharp, coppery, like licking a battery. It's a physical sensation that invades everything. 11:30. The cold was a constant, gnawing presence. I stumbled upon a massive boulder, shaped almost perfectly like a sofa, and I made a desperate, silent deal with it. If I didn't move an inch until dawn, it had to keep me alive. Sitting absolutely still in that bone-chilling cold is a mental tax you simply cannot prep for in any gym. Your muscles, fighting the cold, start firing tiny fasciculations, little tremors that feel exactly like worms squirming under your skin. Every single twitch, every rustle of a leaf, every creak of a branch screamed one thing into my brain: check behind you. Because in that absolute blackness, something, anything, might be 2 inches from your neck. I lasted a grand total of 7 minutes. Then I shot up so fast my vision starshipped, a kaleidoscope of light and dark. The horizon tilted violently, and for the very first time tonight, my carefully constructed facade crumbled. I whispered to the empty air, I might not be okay. The admission hung there heavy and terrifying. Midnight. A new sound slid into the oppressive quiet. It was too low for a raccoon, too soft for a deer, yet it definitely wasn't my imagination. It circled me, pausing whenever I did. My voice came out as a ragged whisper. If you're a bear, I'll back away. If you're human, cough twice. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The noise just kept stalking, its rhythm seeming to mimic my own erratic heartbeat. That's when my mind did the thing no podcast on toughness, no survival book ever warns you about. It split. It split into 2 distinct stations, arguing inside my skull. Station A, the logical one, tried to reassure me. It's probably just a fox, or maybe a curious deer. But Station B, the panicked, primal one, screamed back. Foxes don't learn your foot cadence. They don't circle like that. They argued so loudly, so fiercely inside my head that I actually missed the next stick break, the next telltale crunch of leaves. When I finally refocused, the circling had stopped. And somehow, the ensuing silence felt even worse, more menacing than the stalking had been. The sheer loneliness of that internal battle was crushing. 1:10. The cold had officially turned malicious. My shivers had graduated from mere tremors to full-bodied pulses that slammed my teeth together, making my jaw ache. I remembered some grim stats from a survival blog I'd once skimmed. If your core temperature drops just 3 more degrees, your brain starts inventing warm, inviting beaches, tricking you into taking off your clothes, accelerating hypothermia. So I started chanting, a desperate, almost ritualistic mantra, "Keep the jacket, keep the jacket, keep the jacket," like a spell against the wilderness. I even stuffed fistfuls of damp, scratchy leaves under my shirt for insulation. They scratched and irritated my skin, but that raw physical pain, oddly enough, anchored me to reality. Somewhere in that desperate bargaining, all my pride, all my carefully cultivated toughness just leaked right out of me. I turned the GoPro on, voice raw, and confessed, "If I make it out of this alive, I swear I'm never mocking scared people again." 2:27. This was it. Peak breakdown. That moment when your mind just folds. A distant church bell chimed, 3 slow measured dings. 3 dings. Churches I knew were at least 15 miles away. The wind, even a gale, couldn't possibly carry bronze that far through dense timber. My brain, already frayed, simply snapped. I pictured a procession of faceless hikers, their eyes empty, ringing portable bells, deliberately herding me deeper and deeper into these dark hollows. Hot, stinging tears streamed down my face, a completely wasted hydration, but I couldn't stop them. I even recorded a quick, choked goodbye to my mom, a shaky message into the lens. Then, almost immediately, I deleted it, because dying out here, alone and lost, would be embarrassing enough without a sappy, tearful clip to seal the deal. And you know what? That thought, that sheer, ridiculous sense of shame, actually steadied me. Shame, it turns out, can be a potent survival tool. Who knew? 3:05. The horizon finally glowed, just enough to silhouette.
I laughed then, for real this time. A loud, almost hysterical laugh that probably scared whatever actual animals had been out there. My knees buckled, not from physical fatigue, but from a wave of relief so sharp, so overwhelming, it felt like grief in reverse. I spoke to the camera again, my voice cracking, fragile. Night's a mirror. It shows you who you really are. And if you don't like who you meet in that reflection, then daylight feels like absolute forgiveness. 5:15. The sun, a glorious golden orb, crested the horizon, painting those very same maples that had terrified me hours earlier. They looked postcard peaceful now, innocent even. I walked out, my body aching, my mind strangely clear, counting every single tag on my shirt, all 12 of them, all soaked through, and with each one I made a solemn promise to myself. I would never, ever take a sunrise for granted again. My watch, when I finally bothered to look, said 6 hours and 43 minutes until the trailhead. I covered it with my hand. It didn't matter. Time for me had shrunk to 2 distinct eras. Before I knew this kind of fear, and after. A new chapter had begun. The click of my car door when I finally reached it never sounded so symphonic. I practically collapsed into the driver's seat, cranking the heater to full blast, letting the warmth soak into my frozen bones. I filmed one last bit, my voice still a little hoarse, but with a newfound clarity. I entered that forest thinking toughness was the absence of fear, that it meant never feeling scared. Turns out it's something entirely different. True toughness? It's the willingness to keep sitting, to keep enduring even when fear shows up, wraps its icy tendrils around you, and refuses to leave. So I have to ask you, the person watching this, when was the last time you truly met your night self? Could you stay friends with that version of you until dawn? Comments are wide open below. Drop a story. I'd genuinely love to hear it. And if this video of my story scared you even a little, do me a favor. Share it with that friend who simply won't stop bragging about how brave they are. Maybe, just maybe, it'll save them a night of profound, humbling self-discovery. Quick credits. Huge thanks to all the search and rescue volunteer blogs out there for the stats. And a special shout out to my sister, who I know will absolutely roast me for crying on camera. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell so YouTube tells you if I ever try to redeem myself with a 24-hour version of this challenge. Spoiler alert, it's absolutely not happening. Stay safe out there, everyone, and always remember, the forest doesn't care how tough you talk. It only ever listens.